Welcome back into the Dead Arm of Sports podcast coming at you on March 15th. It's the start of the NFL League new year, new season, and that brings a new season of Dead Arm Sports, season 3. Josh and Jel back at it. How you doing today, Jel?
Oh man. all ready to go.
Finally. Yes, it's
got off to a nice hot start.
Absolutely.
to the opening of season 3, but hey, got to start somewhere. Hey, it's only up from here, right?
It has to be.
Here we go. It better be. To you live listeners, you get a bonus episode of
go check out our
if you were
blooper
attending,
reel.
you got a bonus episode of 4 minutes of us struggling. So
Get a little hiatus there, so I'll blame it on that. New addition to my family, Jel with a move. You can check him out on YouTube. Got his new background going, new apartment there. Still got the fire roaring though, fire hazard though. Got
right in between two dried plants.
Yeah,
dried brush. So we'll be in good hands here.
Yes. All right, Joe.
And on a wooden bookshelf with paper books underneath it.
Sounds safe.
Let's go, baby.
Question of the day for you today. If you could use magic to do one mundane task for the rest of your life, what would that task be?
Can I just do like cleaning in general?
Sure.
Like I have a dog and I love the shit out of him. He is the greatest thing. Like, he's the best. But my apartment I basically have rugs all over the place because he sheds. So I have to vacuum so damn much. He's sitting to my right here. He's getting a little cute. I mean, just having a vacuum constantly, like just cleaning in general would be great, but like having that be upkept constantly would be awesome. Now, I do have in this new place, there is no carpet, which is nice for like the dog fur cleanup, because having to try to get that stuff out of carpet for a lab. With a lab, that's longer fur. Like, that does not go well. That does not end up well. So nice little perk about the new place. But yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one specific thing, probably cleaning up that. Or if I knew how, or maybe I could just learn how to do this, but like car maintenance would be kind of nice. But that's not as much of an annoyance as and really, if I'm gonna like, I don't need a magic spell to have car maintenance done. I just need to go pay a mechanic. And then it's done. So
True.
I have to actually be the one cleaning this place. If it could just be clean, yeah, I'm good.
I'm going to put
new father. I'm going to wonder if changing diapers is up here.
Nah, not too bad. I feel like the
yet.
wife and I do a pretty decent job of splitting that up, or else she has been taking it a little bit more. But one thing I have noticed with the baby is we are doing laundry a lot more frequently, so I will put that on the list. But I'm going to supplement it for the summer months of laundry. Winter months, I had the luxury of being in a condo or an apartment for the last, 10 years or so, and I haven't had to shovel in a while, and that fucking sucks. So I'm going to do shoveling during the winter months and laundry during the summer months.
Didn't you guys just get up in Wisconsin like 10 inches or something? 8 inches, or at least there were some areas that got like 10 inches.
Yeah, we didn't get too much in Madison area. It was like 3 inches the other day, but maybe like 2 weeks ago it was like 8, and it was not fun. It's been like the heavy wet snow too.
Yeah, because it's probably coming down at like 30 degrees where it's just like the super heavy stuff. Yeah,
not great, Bob.
Don't have to deal with that down here, but do have to deal with fucking 108 degrees for a month. So
yeah.
Trade-offs.
Pick your poison.
Yep.
We can be found at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook at Dead Arm Sports. Go to YouTube, Dead Arm Sports. That search bar, we will pop up, black and yellow logo. You can see it on YouTube behind Jel off of his right shoulder. Click on that logo, subscribe, and click the bell there. You'll know when our live episodes drop, so that way you will not miss them. We monitor that chat on the right-hand side, so that way if you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer them on the podcast. If you do miss out on the live feed, you can hit us up on our socials at Dead Arm Sports, at DasJel, that's at DASJEL. I can be found at DasJPEC, that's at DASJPEC. Send us in any questions there. Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite listening platform. Send us a screenshot of your written review, and we will swag you up for free. Big episode for you today. We're going to end it with the Players' Championship, but we have been off for about a month, actually a month to the day. And we've got quite a bit of NFL.
Is it really?
It is. Yep. Valentine's Day. You're my Valentine's Day date.
Yeah.
NFL
priorities, baby.
Catch up. So we're going to catch you up on all of the NFL offseason miscellaneous info that you need to know. Had free agency legal tampering period happened on Monday, still going on. We're recording on Tuesday night right now. We'll preface this. We don't have any Aaron Rodgers news. If anything breaks, we'll let you know, but I highly doubt it because Pat McAfee tweeted out that Rodgers will be on his show tomorrow. So
he's not going to break shit on Pat McAfee. He's going to drag this shit out for another month. He's going to do. Oh my God. Is Rodgers going to save something for April Fool's Day? Oh, I hate this man.
Well, we don't have to talk about him much, but we will start off. The first big domino to fall was Derek Carr. We had previously mentioned that the Raiders were going to be releasing him, and he is now the new quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. Signed a 4-year, $150 million deal, $28.5 million signing bonus, and $100 million guaranteed. So went and is now the best quarterback in the NFC South at the moment, but not much competition there.
I was going to say, I don't know if you took that far enough until you just said not much competition. I mean,
well, Andy Dalton just signed a 2-year deal with Carolina today, Joe.
I was going to say pretty much the only quarterback in that division. I mean, you've got a QB battle in Atlanta of Desmond Ridder and Heineken. In Carolina, you obviously assume they're taking a quarterback at that number 1 pick. We'll dive into that a little bit more later. And Tampa, you got these coaches, you got the coaches and you've got the GMs that are like pimping the shit out of Kyle Trask. I don't know why or where that's coming out of. I've got a theory. Maybe we can get into that as we get maybe deeper into the offseason or deeper, at some point. I don't need to blow my wad now on that, but we're going to tag this as explicit. Don't worry.
As always.
But no, I mean, Carr right now is the only competent quarterback in this division. And yeah, I mean, they're the immediate favorites. We'll get into the Carolina piece again, but there's rumors with Tampa. They're talking. Obviously, I mentioned they're talking up Kyle Trask. There's rumors about Baker going to Tampa. I don't really even see the point of that move. I mean, what is Baker going to get you? To the number 10 pick overall? Like, you might as well ride with Trask.
Exactly.
And
hit up that nice quarterback class.
Either you find something with him or he's god awful and you ride with him for that one season. And then you end up somewhere near in that top 5, top 3, top number 1 overall, possibly next year, depending on how he performs. So I don't see the Baker Mayfield. What the point of a Baker Mayfield signing is. They have enough. Tampa has enough win equity with their fan base, given, they just won a title a couple of years ago. Like they're they had just had the best quarterback in franchise history in Brady there for the last couple of years. So I don't think they need to worry about like, well, we might piss off our fans if we tank. We need to try to win a few games this year. No, either find out what you have in Trask. And if he's good, then you have a quarterback. And if he's terrible, which I suspect, I never understood why they would take him in the second round. If he's terrible, then you can be in the Caleb Williams, Drake May sweepstakes going into next year. Going back to Derek Carr, however, do you think that this makes just turned that into a whole division conversation and got away from Derek Carr himself? Do you think so? You said that this makes them the favorites in the division, correct?
Yeah, at this point in time, as of this recording, absolutely.
How far can he take them? Beyond, we go beyond the division title here? Could we talk NFC championship game? Are we talking about divisional round loser, wild card round loser, possibly? Or are we saying, hey, Saints are a pretty well-run organization. We see some young talent in Olave. Michael Thomas is rumored to be coming back on a revamped contract, restructured contract. Not Juwan Howard. Jesus, that's like an NBA player from like 08. Who's the Juwan Johnson? He showed some flashes last year. I mean, just massive tight end, big red zone targets. Do you think that they have a possibility to win a playoff game, win a couple here, and maybe even play for the NFC championship game? What's your outlook, I guess, on the Saints with this move?
I like it. I mean, it's obviously better than what they've had since Drew Brees has retired, but I don't know. We saw Derek Carr a little bit limited with Las Vegas, and you had Devontae Adams there, which there isn't a Devontae Adams on this team unless Michael Thomas goes back to his 2019 season or Chris Olave makes just a ginormous jump this year. I like them for the division at this point in time, but I see them as maybe a couple games over 500, if that. I don't see them as an NFC championship contender. I see them maybe getting bounced in that first round of the playoffs to the top wild card team. I would expect them to be the fourth seed at least for division guys, but you don't know with Alvin Kamara. His court date is set now this year for that incident that had stemmed from the Pro Bowl the previous year, Super Bowl. I can't remember which one it was, but
Pro Bowl.
So you have that's going to be coming down this year. So we'll see what ends up happening from that. If he's suspended for a chunk of games, that's a huge hit to your offense there. And I don't know. I mean, like I said, I like that they went out and got arguably the top quarterback in free agency, but it's not a Drew Brees. It's not someone that's going to get you a Super Bowl, I don't think. I mean, maybe if you get some pieces. They lost. I don't have the list in front of me. I didn't write down too many of the defensive players at least, but they lost 3 of their starting defenders from this last.
I know Marcus Davenport's gone.
Davenport.
Is Cameron Jordan, did he?
No, his name wasn't one of the ones, but I don't
know if he signed anywhere, but there's been rumor about him retiring for a couple years now.
Yeah. So I don't know. I would not put them in the NFC championship game. Maybe win a game. I think that is their absolute ceiling, but I see them winning the division. Again, we're recording on March 14th. There's a lot of the offseason left. The draft's coming up and a lot can change still, but maybe winning a game, but I see them division and being bounced in the first round.
Do you think that the Saints are making the right move here? I mean, what's the point of this? Like, I feel like they're just continually kicking the can down the road in terms of they just restructure Michael Thomas's deal. He's going to get all his money. He's not taking a pay cut. They're just pushing it down further down the road. At some point, you got to bite the bullet. And I get when they did it with Drew Brees and trying to capitalize on his final season or final 2 seasons, really, because, hey, they didn't know what was coming behind them. And it turned out to be Andy Dalton. So I get that decision. But I mean, is it worth being above average and grabbing Derek Carr just to, instead of just biting the bullet, I mean, and saying, screw it. Like, let's just eat ass for the next year or two and get some draft capital, move off of some of our top guys, try to recoup some picks that they had already dealt away, like what they did with Philly. Try to get some of those picks back and start over. I mean, I get that you're not going to be able to get another Sean Payton coach for a while, but you gotta, I mean, what's the point of being 16th, the 16th best team in the league? That gets you nothing. Or the 12th best team in the league. I mean, that gets you nothing.
No, I agree completely.
And that's where Derek Carr sits, is about the 12th best quarterback, I'd say. Maybe 10 to 12, right? So what's the point of what? I just don't see the point of that, and paying that player $40 million or 37.5, similar to the Daniel Jones deal, which we can get into later or at a later date.
Yeah, no, I agree completely with that. I think this was the perfect opportunity for them to kind of rebuild that franchise from the ground up. Now, obviously, Dennis Allen didn't sign up for a full-on rebuild at all, but you had Michael Thomas who left, you cut him, and then they gave him a contract that's very incentive laden, which you would expect because he hasn't been good since 2019. He hasn't been healthy. He's hardly been on the field at all. Got a nice young guy in Chris Olave. And I think what kind of screwed them over a little bit was that Alvin Kamara off the field incident. I think if he would have not had anything, maybe you could get him and trade him away at this point in time, pick up some draft capital. I think that probably would have been a better move for them. But the defense is getting old. You don't have a ton of star players there at this point in time right now. So, yeah, I don't see why you kind of strapped your franchise for the next 4 years with Derek Carr, which honestly, they brought Jameis Winston back. They should have just done that for a year and seen what happened. And hopefully you end up in the top 5 of the draft and you could get into that, like you mentioned, the Caleb Williams, Drake May, Quinn Ewers sweepstakes that it looks like it's going to be, at least right now.
Quinn, yeah, good call. Throw him into that mix.
You got 3 quarterbacks, at least right now. Obviously, there's going to be other quarterbacks that'll pop into that conversation. Just like all of a sudden after the combine now, Anthony Richardson's and mentions for the number 1 overall pick. So somebody that wasn't really even talked about, at least for that top pick since our last recording. But it didn't make sense. And I agree with you. I think the Saints should have just looked at this and said, hey, this is a perfect time to rebuild and let's just go from there with it.
Hondo. All right, let's move on to your team, the Chicago Bears. Stay in the same division of the NFC South with Carolina, and including the Bears, making a massive trade. Carolina moving from the number 9 spot up to number 1. Chicago in return gets that number 9 pick, next year's Panthers first round pick, this year's number 62 or 61 overall pick, a late second rounder, which the Panthers got in the Christian McCaffrey deal. And I believe there was
2025 second rounder and DJ Moore. Can't forget about him.
Yeah.
Sweeten the deal there. So yeah, absolutely massive trade that came out on Friday last week. Wasn't really expecting it at all. I thought the Bears would kind of hang on to that towards draft time, see if they could kind of get teams competing, but I'm fine with that return. Jesus. I mean, DJ Moore, better than any of the free agent wide receivers right now, someone that teams are trying to target at the trade deadline last year. And Carolina's like, no, he's a corner piece of our franchise. We're not trading him, but apparently a number 1 pick's good enough to get him off the books and over to Chicago. And Chicago immediately gets that impact wide receiver that'll pair up nicely with Darnell Mooney. Chase Claypool can move back to his position that he should be in and not a 1 or 2 wide receiver on a team. So gets him more comfortable there. So pick up a ton of draft capital too. Chicago wasn't taking a quarterback. They decided that Justin Fields is their guy moving forward right now. So there's absolutely no sense in keeping that number 1 pick when there's a lot of teams that want to draft a quarterback, need to draft a quarterback this year. So that was the only thing. I give Poles a huge Ryan Poles, GM of the Chicago Bears, a huge, huge pat on the back here because everybody knew that they wanted out of that one pick. So you lose a little bit of leverage there, but got an absolutely massive haul that you can get a ton of guys to build around in this. And they're just unbelievable.
And that's the most amazing part to me, that Poles was able to pull this off. Boo. That because it's like the decision had already been made that Justin Fields was their guy. They weren't going to let him go, which I think was probably the right move, but realistic. Like, I've been going back and forth on this all off season of like, hey,
there's no sure thing with the quarterbacks in this draft. There's no sure thing,
but there's also no sure thing with Fields.
No.
My whole thing was, could they trade back to like 8 with the Falcons, and Atlanta would give up the 8 pick for Fields? But maybe I was dreaming, because now when I think back on that feels like there was no chance of that Atlanta would give up that number 8 overall pick for Fields at this point. So he probably wouldn't go for more than a second right now, or a late first, in my opinion. Just based on the fact that Ryan Poles, when in his postseason press conference, they asked, what does Justin Fields need to improve on most? He said, throwing or passing. Like, that's pretty important. But ultimately, like, I think that the Bears are making the right move here by moving back, gaining additional assets. It's not like quarterback was the only thing that. It's not like that was their only need. They had tons and tons of additional needs, and by getting an additional pick next year, they still got a top 10 pick. They're getting additional pick next year. They're getting a second that they gave away for Claypool, which that obviously looks like a massive mistake at this point, but they do still end up having a second round pick, which that's still extremely valuable. I mean, if I look at this offense, if you just look at the skill position players of Fields, Montgomery, Khalil Herbert.
He's not under contract. Montgomery's not. He's a free agent right now.
Is Khalil Herbert under contract?
Khalil Herbert's under contract, yes.
So at least you've got him as a fallback plan. I forgot. Yeah, that's right. Montgomery is a free agent. But either way, Khalil Herbert showed a lot when he was the number 1 in Chicago when Montgomery was hurt. Then you've got a 1, 2, 3 of DJ Moore, Mooney, and Claypool, and then Cole Kmet. That's a really intriguing young
night and day
core of skill position players.
They're starting wide receivers last year,
which is crazy, because it's amazing how much just adding DJ Moore changes the entire dynamic of that receiver room. I mean, it's like, it moves Mooney from a 1 down to a 2. He was never supposed to be a 1.
No.
He's a great 2, though. It moves Claypool from a 2 down to a 3, and Claypool shouldn't really be a 2, at least not on a good team. He's a high-end 3. So it's like that trade is, and Cole Kmet, we saw, especially at the end of last year, made some massive leaps.
Mm-hmm.
I really like, if Fields is legit and can learn, and can follow Ryan Poles' direction of, hey, learn how to throw the ball, you're looking at a pretty sweet skill position squad. Now, they still haven't made much in terms of moves on the offensive line. Orlando Brown is still out there.
They picked up Nate Davis, guard from Tennessee, yesterday, but yeah, they still don't attack.
So so they did need to make a move on the interior piece of that line, but they still need a tackle. And if they can get a nice left tackle in Orlando Brown, the top tackle in the league, they've still got cap space. They did spend a shitload on linebacker, which it's like they basically spent as much on Tremaine or TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds as they probably could have on like Roquan Smith.
But you got 2 linebackers for the price of 1.
Right. And TJ Edwards, as any Badger fan knows, absolute tackling machine. Tremaine Edwards or Edmonds, I'm pretty sure signed only for like 15 million guaranteed. So,
Yeah,
or was it? It was either
I think it was
15 or
more than
50.
that. I think it was 50. I
Okay.
think 50
So I
of the
did hear.
72
Okay,
was
so I did hear that
guaranteed.
wrong.
Yep.
That makes a lot more sense.
TJ Edwards gets to line up now next to Jack Sanborn, another Wisconsin Badger.
Yeah, Big Daddy. God, I love it. So, I mean, I really like what the Bears are doing this offseason. It's just going to come down now at this point. So, what is Fields going to do? And we'll dive into this a little bit more when we get closer to the draft. But do you have any thoughts on what they're going to do at that 9 pick at this time?
I mean, right now, as of this recording, like you mentioned, Orlando Brown is still out there. So unless they sign him, I think you have to go a tackle, whether that's is it Paris Johnson from Ohio State or Peter Skronsky from Northwestern. There's issues with him though, and his arm length that they don't like. That a lot of teams don't. His arms are a little bit short for the tackle position, so they're saying that he might be a better fit at guard. So
they said the same thing about Rashawn Slater, though.
Yeah. So
and another we'll Northwestern tackle who, and he's arguably a top, not discounting his injury, top 3, top 5 tackle in the league. So, I think at this point, like I think we should probably, it's just like trusting Badger offensive linemen. Like you just kind of trust them when they come out. I think we should be able to trust Northwestern offensive linemen when they come out, that they're going to be solid players. That's just my 2 cents here.
Broderick Jones is another one out of Georgia. One player to keep an eye on that I'm very curious is Jalen Carter. Can he fall to 9? Someone that they would have taken number 1 overall, had some off the field stuff come out in regards to racing and everything that was involved in that fatality. So we'll see what that does, if it deters any teams. But if you're comfortable with him and he falls, somebody that you could have potentially targeted at number 1 as your defensive tackle, you could get at 9, and you picked up a ton of draft capital in doing so too. So we'll see what happens, but I have to imagine at this point in time, it's either a tackle or an edge rusher, or if Jalen Carter's there, that's where they're going to end up going with 9.
Yeah, we'll see. Another trade that went down.
One of the things I was going to ask here too quick, Joe, before we jump over to that trade is, with the Panthers moving up, I guess, one, do you think that they gave up too much to move up to number 1? And who do you think is the favorite right now for them to take at that number 1 position?
See, this is the part that I don't understand So I guess let me answer this in 2 parts. Well, you gave a 2-part, you gave a sure 2-part did. Question. So I guess I have to give a 2-part answer. It might be a 3-part answer then. So when I first heard the news, I was listening to Fox Sports Radio, and they named all the picks. They said, the Bears in return get the number 9 overall pick, next year's Carolina first, this year's 61st pick in the 2nd round, and what was it, the
2025
third, next year's 2025 second. And then they said, and I was like, God, that feels underwhelming. And then they said, and DJ Moore. And I literally said, whoa. I said that out loud as just, whoa. And thankfully I was in my apartment by myself, not at work, because people would have thought I was a nutcase, although they probably already do think that. And that was the piece that turned that really like changed everything for me. However, I think that I know DJ Moore had just very recently just signed an extension with them, but there had also been rumors of him being traded, as you had previously mentioned, since last season. I think he was like, dude, just get me out of here. And not saying that he was a throw-in piece, but maybe Carolina would have had to give up an extra 2nd and a 4th or something. Instead, they include DJ Moore, and because it's not often that you can move up to that number 1 overall pick. So I think that ended up supplementing for some additional picks. Maybe, like I said, probably an additional second and maybe another sixth or a fifth or something. In terms of who I think they're going to take at number one, it's been all over the board. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I think Bryce Young still makes sense to be the number one overall player, especially because he'd be staying in the South. It's not like it's completely different if Chicago takes a 5'10", 190-pound quarterback versus a team like Carolina or a dome team like in Indy taking Carolina, because those two teams don't have to fight the elements. I mean, Carolina's division is all warm cities or dome teams. He's obviously succeeded at, he grew up in California, was the number one quarterback in the country as a recruit in the LA area, goes to Alabama, obviously in the South, never really played in snow. I don't know if he's ever even played in snow. So his fit in Chicago was non-existent. His fit in Carolina is extremely high. But Vegas, as soon as that trade was made CJ Stroud the overwhelming favorite to be the number one overall pick at -350. Now, today, live on a Tuesday, a month after Valentine's Day, 3/14, we're hearing that they're kind of split between Stroud and Anthony Richardson. So honestly, I have no idea. I don't have a great answer for you here. I think that Stroud should be the pick. I don't think you can take an Anthony Richardson number one overall. He's too much of a project. There is no, and Stroud isn't somebody Stroud is somebody that can step in day one and start.
But Bryce they have Young, the beige water pistol now.
Yeah, he's a great backup. You would maybe actually no, he's not a great backup. No. You had him as a backup and he was not great. No. So he just is a backup. I just don't think that there's any purpose in moving up to one for Anthony Richardson. That's somebody that you have to take. That's not a number one overall pick. I mean, yeah. Going back to there's the comps of Cam Newton, but Cam Newton was way more refined. Cam Newton was one of the best college football players ever by the time he came out of Auburn. I mean, he had, or at least had one of the best college football seasons ever when he left Auburn. Anthony Richardson isn't even close to that Cam Newton level. So if they're, he's a legitimate project. He feels like a perfect fit in Seattle where he can sit behind Geno for 2 years and kind of, or fill in that like Jordan Love role where he sits behind that starter for a couple of years and eventually gets his chance. But Carolina needs a starter today. They can't go back to Sam Darnold. He signed with San Fran. So yep. I think it's going to end up being Stroud. I think I would probably, it's between Stroud and Bryce Young is who I would take if I were Carolina. But if they end up going Anthony Richardson, I think that's going to bite him in the ass.
Yeah. Real quick, too, before we get into that trade, Jel, you had touched on Indianapolis. And what do you think they're doing right now? I think they're kind of in panic mode. There's a lot of rumors that they were in the mix to move up to that number one spot to jump everyone to get the quarterback that they want. But they've got, obviously, Carolina, if they stay put's taking a quarterback. Houston's probably taking whatever of those two quarterbacks, Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, that is not taken there. And then you've got Arizona sitting there, which obviously they're not, with Kyler's contract, they can't get out of that. They're not taking a quarterback there, but team comes in and makes a package that you just can't turn down. They could probably trade back and give up on Will Anderson, get some more draft capital there. And another team jumps in front of you, take a quarterback. All of a sudden you're sitting there at number 4, 3 quarterbacks are off the board and you're staring at Will Levis. I mean, Indy doesn't have a quarterback on the roster right now that can lead them into this season. So what are they thinking right now? And what do they do?
You have to move up to either 2 or 3. You cannot, they cannot stand pat at 4 and get the 4th choice at quarterback, because that leaves you with Will
More than
Levis
likely
at
Will Levis.
best, because somebody, like you said, maybe what if Seattle jumps up, and this probably wouldn't happen given Seattle, Arizona, same division, but a team like Seattle where they have a quarterback that they think, hey, we got a year or two left out of him, but what we could jump up to 3 and grab Levis, grab Anderson, or why did I say Anderson? Richardson, and take care of our future quarterback. So I think they got to move up. They got to at least move up to 3, if not move up to 2. Now, again, number 2, Houston, in division rival, probably not going to happen unless Indy was willing to give up the farm to move up 2 spots versus 3. That's out of conference and everything. So I think they have to move up. You can't get the number 4 pick, the number 4 quarterback, sit there with Will Levis and take your chances. Your roster is outside of the quarterback position is, and yeah, you need some more receiving help, and probably, and I think at this point, pretty obviously need some running back depth, given that Zach Moss is your number 2 running back, and JT is coming off an injury riddled season. So if you can, and definitely some secondary help. They have a lot of needs, but I mean, it was only a year, 2 years ago that we were talking about them as a potential AFC title contender.
Yeah.
So they're not, and that's when they had Phillip Rivers. Come on. So I think they have to move up. If they sit there at 4, they're going to end up being in the same spot that they are now. And at least for the next 2 years. And it's going to be a massive mistake.
Yeah, unless they make Lamar Jackson an offer Baltimore can't match. That's your only other option, I think, at this point.
And then you're just desperate at that point. You're going to have to give in to Lamar's $230+ million guaranteed demands. Yep. Is that a good idea?
Probably
I don't know.
What? Yeah.
Why don't, I was just going to bring up the Ramsey trade to Miami. I mean, the only thing, and then I want to get back to Lamar, but the only reason I wanted to bring up that Ramsey trade to Miami, do you see, I guess, Ramsey leaving the Rams to the Dolphins? Is it Dolphinsy? Jalen Dolphinsy? The only reason I wanted to bring that up was, does this show that do you think the Rams go into full-blown rebuild? They only got a 3rd for Jalen. It's not like they got, and a like 4th string tight end.
Yeah, Hunter Long.
I don't know who that is. So that's my point. I doubt you do.
Honestly, he was a tight end out of Boston College, if I'm not mistaken. I could be totally wrong on that, but
okay, yeah. Maybe. Doesn't matter. Are they going into a full-blown rebuild here at this point? I mean, and if they're getting rid of Ramsey, which I said they probably should to try to get some additional draft capital, but I thought they'd get more than a 3rd. I mean, I thought they'd get like maybe a high second, late, maybe a high mid second, but it does have that salary burden.
That's exactly what it is that Miami took on his full contract. So that's why Los Angeles wasn't able to get probably what they could have. I agree. I think a 2nd rounder would have probably been good draft capital for Jalen Ramsey. He still has a lot of shelf life left. He's still a solid cornerback. So Miami gets obviously a huge piece to their already pretty solid defense there and can try and run it back. They are going all in with Tua, and they got Mike White in to be the backup quarterback. But yeah, I don't know if they're necessarily going into full-blown rebuild. I just think that contract was just too much on the books for them. That did not give them any financial flexibility at all. So I think it's going to be kind of more of a quick jump start to the franchise. So I don't necessarily think it'll be that full-blown rebuild, but I don't know. I can't see Sean McVay coming back in and being like, yep, I came back so we could rebuild this thing. So I just think they used it to kind of clear up some space, give them some financial flexibility once the draft rolls around. Maybe they're making a trade with somebody to bring in another piece. I don't know, but it just kind of seemed like this was a contract that they wanted to get out of, and they were able to get out of it and sending him over to Miami and sending him over to the AFC. So you don't really have to see him at all.
That's kind of what I was thinking as well. But there's also the Stafford. There's continuing Stafford rumors of, hey, they're shopping him. Hey, they're listening to offers. And then, no, we're not. No, they aren't. Hey, yes, they are. No, they're not. So I guess we'll obviously have an answer to that if there's any resolution on that Stafford piece. I know that he's owed, I believe his cap hit this year is like 62 mil. So not great for the Rams. I guess they had to clear space somewhere, and Jalen Ramsey's an easy piece to get off of. Let me go back to the Lamar piece that you briefly brought up and that I said I was going to bring this back to. So obvious, I assume any listener here is aware of the Lamar Jackson situation at this point, where he was given the non-exclusive franchise tag, which puts his salary for this season, unless there is an agreement made, at approximately $32 million. Any team in the league can make an offer to him, just straight up dollars, years and dollars to him. But if they do come to an agreement and the Ravens do not match, which they have the ability to do, they would then owe the Ravens 2 first-round picks. His trade demands have not changed. He still wants to match or eclipse that Deshaun Watson $230 million guaranteed. My take on this is that everything that he's thinking logically in terms of, I'm better than Deshaun, I've won an MVP, I've win 75% of my games historically, etc., etc. That's all very logical. But he's thinking that he should get that or exceed that. And everybody, when that Deshaun Watson deal was signed, said, that's the worst contract in the NFL immediately. Yep. To fully guarantee this contract for this type of quarterback off of his second ACL injury for this, like there's never been this type of guaranteed money. And everybody, not only just in our circle as a podcaster or the guys you're hearing on radio or on TV, but even the Ravens GM came out and said, I hope this doesn't set a precedent after that deal was made. So if everybody's in agreement that that Deshaun Watson deal was stupid and should not have ever been signed, why should Lamar Jackson have the expectation to match or beat that contract? And what are your overall thoughts, I guess, on the Lamar Jackson piece? What kind of deal do you think that he deserves? I'm open to, I'm all ears here, because I've gone back and forth on this Lamar piece so many times that my head at this point is scrambled as an egg.
Yeah, Deshaun was traded about this time last year. I was down by you in Dallas. We were on, I believe, hole 16 on the golf course. You're hitting a ball out of the woods, and I was like, Deshaun is a Brown.
Cheap shot, Jesus. That could have been any shot any day.
Yeah.
Damn you.
No, I was just saying, like, I vividly remember, like, holy shit, Deshaun just got traded to Cleveland, and what his contract is guaranteed fully. Like, no, that was a ridiculous contract that obviously a desperate team like the Cleveland Browns, who haven't had a franchise quarterback since the team moved to Baltimore way back when, they haven't had a quarterback that they could build a franchise around. So they did everything that they could possibly do to do that. No, Browns haven't had.
Oh,
Baltimore. Yeah. Well, yeah.
I was making a Trent Dilfer. Yeah. Like, what about Kyle Bowler?
No, that contract is ridiculous, and no one is going to be getting something like that. That's just stupid. Like, a team would not want to do that, and it makes no sense for your cap hit. But I think why you don't see that franchise tag, what is it? The
non-exclusive
franchise tag used very
That's what
often.
allows the other teams to
correct.
It's similar to any basketball fans out there, NBA fans. The non-exclusive franchise tag is the same exact thing as a restricted free agency.
Yep. Yeah. So no, what I was getting at with that though is I think Baltimore in their negotiations with Lamar was just like, dude, you have no idea what the quarterback market is right now. We are so far apart in our negotiations. We don't want to offend you. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to tag you with the non-exclusive franchise tag. You can go out and see if you can even get anything close to that deal right now. And then we'll come back and we'll look at it and we'll talk about it. So I think that's exactly what they were doing without necessarily hurting his feelings and be like, no, we're just giving you the regular franchise tag. You're playing on this and possibly avoiding him sitting out a season because let's be honest, probably could have played down the stretch last year. I mean, not wanting anybody to play hurt, but I think potentially if he had a guaranteed contract,
you play hurt in the NFL. Not
if he
injured.
Had a guaranteed contract, he would have been out on the field.
There's a difference between playing hurt and playing injured. You play hurt in the NFL. I don't think it's a good idea to play injured, but it sounds like that Lamar injury, from what I read, it's not an injury that could really get worse. Like it's just basically sore. Fuck that shit. You play through that, especially in the playoffs. But I get your point, which was if you're playing on with no guaranteed money after that season, I wouldn't play through it either. I get that.
Yeah. Yep. But I think that's why they tagged that non-exclusive because they want him to go out and see what the actual market would be if he was a free agent quarterback, which he essentially is right now. There's just a stipulation that he can end up back in Baltimore because they can match whatever deal's given to him. So I think that's exactly why they did that. They were so far apart in negotiations. He had an unrealistic idea of what his contract should be, and they're just so far apart right now. And that's why we haven't really had any news come out of anything other than him tweeting out today that he had I think $100 million guaranteed right now from a team or something like that, 3 years for something like that.
But what I heard was the Ravens offered him a 3-year, $133 million fully guaranteed deal last September. So the rumor was that the Ravens offered him a $200 million of guaranteed money. And he came back and said, no, that never happened. I was offered a 3-year, $133 million fully guaranteed deal.
Okay.
And that's what he walked away from. And that's consistent with what came out last offseason. I remember that same 3-year, 133 fully guaranteed from last offseason. So that is consistent. The $200 million, that rumor, that's new. And it sounds like it was made up or there was false information given.
Okay. But yeah, so I think that's kind of where they're sitting at with it right now. I mean, he should be paid as a top quarterback in the league. I don't know if he should set the new bar at all, but I mean, he should be compensated for being one of the better quarterbacks in the league because he is a game changer when he's fully healthy.
You'd like to see more from 75% of his games that he starts.
Yeah. You'd like to see more from him passing. So that's why I don't think he should be getting Patrick Mahomes numbers or anything like that, but he should still be up there in the top 5 paid quarterbacks, I think.
I mean, that's 75% winning percentage. That's good. A 12-4 record. That's pretty fucking nice if you can count on that week in or year in, year out. Like, oh, we have to tailor our offense to you. Well, the offense seems to freaking work. Like you're winning 12 games a year. So I will say he did miss. I believe he's missed like 10 of his last 26 games or something like that. So the injury concern is real. Yep. And that's the bit that has to be the main reason why Baltimore is hesitant on giving him a 5-year fully guaranteed deal, which that's totally understandable. But I think Lamar's a little out of bounds in terms of if he wants to match or beat what everybody agrees with, or agrees in the fact that Deshaun's deal is the worst deal in the league ever for a team. And he wants to try to make it worse, be the most worst. Let me, so one last trade rumor that I want to talk on. We have no Rodgers news at this point. We'll do a deeper dive on that when we do get that news. Nothing has come over yet, but Austin Eckler is looking at possibly trying to get out of the LA Chargers situation. Now, he's been making dirt ass money. He was I believe a 7th round pick, if not undrafted, so he made basically no money when he first signed with the Chargers. He signed a second contract with them, but he's making single digit numbers.
$6 million this season.
That's what I thought it was, 6. So $6 million this season. And for a player that's worth, I mean, you say double that on an annual basis, especially given that Chargers offense that is so reliant on him. It sounds like the Chargers aren't going to acquiesce to his trade demands. They did the same thing with Melvin Gordon a few years back, but I think it's inarguable at this point that Austin Eckler is more valuable than Melvin Gordon was to that Chargers offense. Do you see, I guess 2-part question here. Do you see Austin Eckler, or do you see the Chargers end up, caving to giving Eckler a deal that he wants? Okay, I guess 3-part question. Do you see them caving to giving him a deal that he wants? And what do you think that deal would look like? And part 3, if not, where do you see some good landing places for him? Because he's a small running back. He's been used and abused, but he's never been injured. I mean, he doesn't really seem. When's the last Austin Eckler big hit you saw him take? Never. I don't think I've ever seen him take a big hit. It's not like Reggie Bush when he got lit up against the Eagles. That's one of the best highlights of all time. I mean, I guess have at it from those 3 questions.
I think he gets traded. They gave him permission to seek a trade today. So I don't know that they're going to cave into his contract negotiations. They're looking to possibly move him if the right deal comes along. So I would be surprised to see him back with the Chargers this next season. He took a team-friendly deal this last time around. He's 27. He's looking to get paid here quick before the shelf life runs out for the running back position. He's probably got 3, maybe 4 years tops left. And like you said, he's been banged up and just driven like a rental the last couple of years here. Haven't really used any backups. He's a 3-down back, great out of the backfield. So any team would be lucky to have him right now. I mean, off the top of my head, teams that need a running back right now, maybe the Bears. He would probably fit in with what they like to do on offense, especially utilize the passing, catching running back and everything. Tampa needs somebody down there. Atlanta, Carolina, pretty much the NFC South minus the Saints there. I like that Atlanta fits but it feels kind of pointless if they're not going to get if they were to go after Lamar and who knows how the money would work out, but if they were to go after Lamar, which I know they already tweeted out that they wouldn't, but fuck that. It's Twitter. Nobody cares. Nobody's honest on Twitter. If you go pair Lamar, Austin Eckler pair them up with Kyle Pitts. Didn't they just sign another wide receiver too? Or another, they just traded for Johnny Smith. Yeah, Johnny Smith.
And then throw Drake London in there. Yeah. That turns in again. That's a really nice offense outside of offensive line, which they still need some help. But Austin Eckler could be a massive difference maker in there. Lamar would be a much bigger difference maker in there, but
yeah. I'd say another team I'd like to see him go to if they would switch up their offense would be Buffalo. I think he'd be phenomenal in that offense, but they don't use the running back position like you would like to see there. So
where? Say that one more time.
Buffalo would be a solid spot, but again, they don't use the running back how they should. So I don't really want to see him there, at least from a fantasy aspect. But otherwise, I don't know. I mean, what about LA? He just changes teams, goes from AFC to NFC there. That's not a bad idea.
I mean, it seems like McVay seems done with Akers. I mean, they only went with Akers at the end of the season because everybody else was injured.
Yep.
So I think that's definitely a fit. I still ultimately think Eckler's best fit though is with the Chargers, and I hope he stays there because he touches the ball so much. I know the Chargers, the reason they're probably not looking to pay him is because they know Justin Herbert's contract. They're going to have to pay a butt ton for Herbert. I mean, we're already seeing the Bengals clearing space for a Joe Burrow extension. They let go of Von Bell and Jesse Bates. They're two starting safeties, two of the best in the league. I assume that's just to clear space for a Joe Burrow extension, probably a Jamar Chase extension, and giving them any chance to also keep T. Higgins. I mean, you're going to have to get rid of, those two safeties. Again, two of the best in the league, but it is what it is. I think that's where the Chargers are at, where they're already doing we previously mentioned the Saints kicking the can down the road. The Chargers are already doing that with Joey Bosa. They've restructured Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack,
Keenan Allen,
Michael Williams, and Keenan Allen, all in over this past week. They're just kicking the can down the road. Eventually, they're going to have to bite that bullet, but they're like, I guess let's try to get one more year under Justin Herbert's rookie deal, which that's what they should do. That's fair. They were, I believe, 21 million over the cap, and now they're 19 million. And then after all those restructurings, that saved them $40 million for this season in terms of cap space. Now, obviously, they're going to bite the bullet, but what all that restructuring means is we can't afford to give Austin Eckler a $48 million over 4 years with 36 guaranteed. We just can't afford that. So that's it. I think that's all it comes down to. It just comes down to paying these guys.
Yep. Going to run through some names here, other names here quick. We are running out of time. Want to get to some golf. Jimmy G ends up going to the Raiders. Saw that one coming. I think we touched on that a couple
mile
times.
Away. We knew that like the second that Brady retired. It's like, oh, Jimmy G. Yep, he's a Raider.
Yep. 3 years, 2.75 million, 11.25 signing bonus, 45 million of that guaranteed. Got news today. He lost his starting tight end. Darren Waller traded to the New York Giants for their third round pick that they got from the Chiefs for Tony Baloney. So essentially the Giants traded Tony Baloney for Darren Waller. So pretty solid trade there for the Giants. See,
I think that it's relatively fair value given that Waller's missed, I believe, he has been 16 games over the last 2 seasons or something. That's half the games. I mean, you have to keep that in mind. Now, obviously the talent is immense, but I'm not fretting over a third. I would have rather had a second if I was Vegas, but they also just signed Jacoby Myers. This today, 314. So they've got Devontae, Jacoby Myers, and White Kid, Hunter Renfrow as their 1, 2, 3. Foster Moreau's played enough over the last 2 years in Waller's absence that he should be at least serviceable as a number 1 tight end. And they can put their money elsewhere. They've also got money tied up now in Jimmy G and Josh Jacobs. So I think they just had to kind of make ends meet with that move.
Al Lazard to the New York Jets. James Bradbury goes back to Philly. Colts trade Stephon Gilmore to the Cowboys for a 5th-round pick, and Rashad Penny to Philly. So end of the road for Miles Sanders in Philly.
Boston Scott also signed a $2 million 1-year deal with Philly, which good baby Boston. We did. I remember the reason that pops into my head. I remember we talked about him before our hiatus, and we're like, what is Philly going to do in the offseason with all these running backs that are coming off contract? And well, where is Boston Scott realistically going to go? He's staying in Philly for dirt cheap. And he did.
Yep. All right, moving on to some golf. Had the Players Championship finish up this last weekend on Selection Sunday. Scottie Scheffler wins. I mean, what doesn't this guy win at this point in time? I mean, he's just been playing lights out, on fire, just Mr. Clutch. Had a phenomenal Saturday and then just coasted to an easy victory on Sunday. Just down the stretch, some of those more treacherous holes, could just kind of relax, take it easy, not get aggressive, and just plug in pars, and ended up coasting to victory there. 3 aces over the weekend on hole 17. Had Hayden Buckley, Aaron Ray, and Alex Smalley. So had 3 solid hole-in-ones there. Smalley's was my favorite. Just a nice one-hop dunk into the hole.
Oh, that was even freaking alley-oop.
But yeah, overall, absolutely solid tournament. Fun field, fun tournament to watch. So
fun course, man. Yeah. Like you mentioned, 16, 17, back-to-back, just surrounded by water. Everybody's watching those holes to see, hey, how is this guy, how are these guys going to fare? You mentioned Scottie on, pretty much at least on that Sunday, being able to take it easy on 17, or particularly on 17. Man, he was still aggressive on that 17th hole, and he did have 4 or 5 strokes to play with, but he still hit that ball. If he wanted to play it truly safe, he could have hit it on the left side of the green and then, 2-putted his way in. He still hit it on the right side of the green, down on that downhill slope towards the hole, but also going towards the water. But he just freaking stuck it, man. He was that just dialed in. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Scottie's the most technically sound golfer in the world right now. I think Rahm has the ability to make the most shots. If he's in the shit, if he's in a situation where he needs to hit a just absolute money 250-yard ball with a wood, and there's no room for error here, he just has the ability to do it. So he has the ability. I think he has the best ability in the world right now. Scottie, though, most technically sound golfer. When things are going right, they go as right as possible. I think right now it's those two, Jon Rahm, Scottie Scheffler, that are on top of everybody. There's a second tier that might be, Rory McIlroy is, I want to put on that second tier just by himself, but he hasn't done squat this season. And then below him, that's when you get into the, kind of to that third tier of guys. But I think it's very clear Jon Rahm, Scottie Scheffler totally have separated themselves, especially with this performance from Scheffler.
With our golf picks, we left you with the Genesis Invitational. That week, Jel went Victor Hovland. I went Adam Scott. Adam Scott, not great. We won't get into that one.
Boy, made 10-stroke advantage there.
Jel went Aaron Weiss, shot a -3. I ended up with Shane Lowry, -9. So gained 6 shots back there. Arnold Palmer, Jel went Ricky Fowler, finished up -1. I went Keegan Bradley, finished -5, got another 4 there. And this last week, I gave it all back at the Players Championship.
Yes, you did.
Max Homo turned into a phenomenal final round on Sunday, -8, and JT even par. So we're sitting right now, Jel at minus 88, Josh minus 73. We will talk Valspar tomorrow. I will have first pick, so we'll see who I go with. Also going to have a fun show. It is the return of Jel and I's March Madness draft, I guess you'll say. So we'll pick teams 1 through 16, one each, and get points. We'll go through that.
We are
tomorrow.
Not picking all 64 teams.
No, we are not. We'll pick 32. But you'll have to tune in tomorrow to find out who we each get. We can be found at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook at Dead Arm Sports. Go to YouTube, Dead Arm Sports, that search bar, subscribe, click the bell there. That way you know when the live episodes drop. We monitor that chat. You can ask us any questions there. Otherwise, hit us up at Dead Arm Sports, at Das Gel, at Das JPET. Give us a follow on all three of those. Send us in any questions. Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite listening platform. Send us a screenshot, and we will get you some swag. What are those platforms, Joe?
Hit us up on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcasts. We're also available on YouTube. As any of you subscribers know, we had a couple live, we had a very short initial first live episode of the season. That was an error-filled one. Any of you that did tune in live, you got a nice little behind-the-scenes episode of what happens when we fuck up. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on whatever your chosen listening platform is, as well as subscribe on YouTube and hit that bell to get any notifications when we do go live.
Again, we'll be back with you tomorrow. Appreciate everyone out there listening. If you could tell someone you know about the podcast, that would help us out greatly. Spread the word, get more followers, get you even more content. But that will do it for this episode. Again, can't wait for that draft tomorrow. And Jel, close her out.
Giants, Daniel Jones, 41 million. What are you doing?
Woof.